The Confederation of African Football's Appeals Board has overturned the result of the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations final. It stripped Senegal of its title and awarded a 3-0 default victory to the host nation, Morocco. The decision stems from a 70-minute walk-off by Senegalese players during the final on the 18th of January 2026 in Rabat. Senegal had originally won the match 1-0 in extra time after returning to the pitch following their protest of a controversial stoppage-time penalty awarded to Morocco. Let's talk about this decision. How did it come about? What does it mean? We on the line to Far Post editor Mthokozisi. Dube, Mthokozisi, a very good evening to you. Thank you so much for speaking to us. I know a lot of people's hearts stopped. People stopped breathing. I think there's some who are still not breathing at the moment. How did we go from Dakar to Rabat, from the pitch to the boardroom?
Hey, yeah, like I'm I'm
also
still trying
speechless.
to process it. It's quite shocking. I mean, I've never heard of this before. It's shocking, because you go back to the rules of the game. The referee on the night, after 15 minutes of the walkout, could have said, blown his whistle and said, Senegal has forfeited the match. Morocco has won the game 3-0. Trophy presented to Morocco, we move on. We wouldn't be here today. No one, Senegal were not going to go and appeal or anything of that sort because it was clear. I mean, you even go back to the decisions that they were not happy with. The goal that Senegal felt they had scored was not a goal. There was a clear foul. The foul they committed, which resulted in the penalty, which caused the walkout, was a clear penalty, So they had no leg to stand. But the fact that the referee allowed the game to go on until the final whistle changes everything. It then triggers law number 5.2, which says that the referee's decision on anything on the field is final. So yeah, it's just shocking that we are where we are.
So Mthokozisi, I mean, often, especially with soccer players, there's the letter of the law and then there's the spirit of the game. And that sometimes tends to confuse people, especially even how they judge a referee's decision. So in this case, what could have happened? Because what Senegal is saying now is saying, no, we actually think that there's corruption. This is why Morocco was given, the cup. So what happened in your mind?
Look, I think everything has to go back to the night of the final. I mean, obviously the referee is thinking to salvage the image of African football. If this match is called off now, and it was not gonna give a good picture of the African game. Yes, that has happened, but Morocco also, they play the game. The game comes to an end. After the game, they appeal, and the DC then says no, the result stands, but Senegal are gonna be fined. So will Morocco be fined, for both their transgressions. But the result stands because the football match was played to the end, right? Fair enough, but Morocco says that we're not happy. Then they go to the appeals board and say they are not happy. And the appeals board obviously looks at things, differently from the way the CAF DC had looked at things, and they come up with a different verdict, which basically.
So let me stop you there, Mthokozisi. So what would have been the difference between the two?
There shouldn't be a difference because the same laws should apply. They are using the same rule book, so there shouldn't be a difference. Which is perhaps why Senegal would then allege that there is influence, from elsewhere, which would be reckless for us at this point because we don't really know. But I think the beautiful thing is that Senegal, still can go to the court of arbitration, for sports, and they will definitely get reprieve there. And I can bet you the CAS is going to restore Senegal as the African champions. I can bet you with my last cent that they definitely will.
But why do you think
uphold
it would win an appeal, especially given from the beginning you said that it was a clear matter, that final whistle had blown and Senegal had lost. The game was awarded to Morocco, should have been awarded to Morocco. So what would be the different interpretation? And this comes at a time when there are lots of questions around CAF, its credibility and its governance.
Look, I think the difference would be the fact that the game actually continued, right? And was played until the final whistle. After 2 sets of 15 minutes of extra time, the game was then decided on the field of play by a goal that Senegal scored, right? So that then says the decision of the referee, on the on-field decision of the referee should stand, because the game was played to the end. If Morocco had refused to play, which would have been, they would have been right to say, listen, the law says that after 15 minutes, they forfeited the game, But the fact that they went back on the pitch, they missed the penalty, they played those 2 sets of 15 minutes, the game, the referee blew the whistle at the end of the game. For me, it changes everything. For me, that is where Senegal will still win, this case.
Do you foresee this? Firstly, do you believe this is an unprecedented event and one that could force reforms between the CAS and the CAF in their interpretation of the rules?
No. I mean, this has happened before. This is not the first time. In 2019, there was a case between Esperance in the CAF Champions League. Esperance versus Wydad, a Moroccan team in Tunisia. Wydad had a goal disallowed. They walked off the pitch. They left. And the referee, after an hour, declared Esperance the winners of that game, right? The CAF EXCO came back and said, no, the match must be replayed. But Esperance took the case to CAS, and CAS said, you've got to respect your own rules. And they declared Esperance 3-0 winners of that game. So this is not the first time, that it. And I think it's good enough as is that Senegal is still able to go to the Court of Arbitration for Sports. I think it still works perfectly. No one needs to align with anyone. I think it's just important that cases independent. They'll be able to look at the laws and interpret them, and then
But that's what I'm trying to understand. Is it a case of ketile, so live with it? Because you mentioned that the rules are the same. Why is there a different interpretation between the CAS and the CAF?
So I think, sometimes you get the sense that the law has not been applied correctly, right? But you have a higher body that can actually review the application of that particular law and give its ruling. It happens that's why you even, in outside sport, one can actually go as far as the Supreme Court, can go as far as the Constitutional Court. The laws don't change, but it's the application of the laws that is reviewed, and a different outcome could come. You and I are looking at this thing. I'm not even a lawyer, but I can tell you that the law has wrongly been applied here, by the appeals board. And I can bet you on this one that the Court of Arbitration for Sports will have a different ruling.
Okay.
We'll be back here a few months, probably in the next 5-6 months, and we'll be back here and we'll have this conversation, because CAS will have a different, application of the laws that the appeals board would have gotten wrong, in my opinion.
Quick and a final question, Mthokozisi. How do you think this is impacting on the players on both sides?
Look, I think for a player who's won the cup, the Senegalese, I've seen some of their tweets. I mean, I've seen Ilman Diane of Ndiaye of Everton, tweeted and said, "Come and get, the trophy. Come and get the medal." You can see it obviously impacts, the African game negatively. But I think one thing that we should note is to be able to separate, between the quality of football that we saw that these players came and displayed. I mean, this decision is beyond them. It has nothing to do with them. They showed up. They gave us an entertaining tournament. I mean, I literally went to every venue, enjoyed the football. So I think it's important for us to be able to separate. These are administrative issues, but they have nothing to do with the the quality of play and what was displayed on the field of play. So I think we must constantly remind ourselves of how beautiful the African game is.
Mthokozisi, thank you so much. Mthokozisi Dube is Far Post editor, just speaking to us about this decision to take away the CAF Cup from Senegal and give it to Morocco. It's been said to be a baffling decision by some.